I think I'm more of an adrenaline junkie now than I was before I became a wheelchair user. You know, I want to do everything.
Access denied. Access denied. Access denied. Hey y'all, it's your host Jessica Jordan, and I'm here on Access Denied, the podcast dedicated to helping you get over your fear of rejection, one episode at a time. Let's go! Hey y'all, and welcome back to a brand new episode of Access Denied. I am so freaking excited to introduce you to today's guest. Kristy Durso is on the pod, and y'all, the accessible travel recommendations and tips and tricks that Kristy gives in this episode are truly a can't miss. It will change your life, so stay tuned and enjoy, friends. Kristy, welcome to Access Denied. How are you doing tonight?
I am doing so well. A bit exhausted. I've done 4 conferences in 4 weeks, so I'm definitely feeling it, but I am so excited to be on the podcast with you today.
It's so funny because we actually just saw each other like a month ago?
4 weeks ago.
I was going to say, was that the first conference then?
That was the kickoff conference to the Insanity. Absolutely.
Oh boy. Well, that was an intense one. That was at the Travelability Conference out in Oregon, which was so beautiful.
Oh, it was amazing. We got to go. I brought my son, Timothy. He's 14. He's cognitively and intellectually disabled, so also helps give a voice at the Travelability Conference. And we got to experience Oregon for a few days beforehand, and we just absolutely had a ball. We went to a pumpkin patch, and we went to an alpaca farm, which was really totally unexpected. We were on our way to do something else, and we saw the alpaca farm, and I was like, oh, we're definitely checking this out. We have got to pet the alpacas. I've never done anything like that. This is a must. So we went on a hike with an adaptive chair company and an adaptive tour company, and we went on the highest commercial bungee jump in North America.
Oh my gosh, how was that?
Amazing. It was so cool. If you've never gone bungee jumping, you absolutely have to. It was spectacular. The view on the way down, that feeling of freedom, and just it was glorious. And then the only part I was concerned about, especially because I have a chronic condition with, I have a connective tissue disorder, I was a little bit worried about the jolt at the bottom, but there wasn't one. It was more like taking a turn in a vehicle than a jolt and changing direction. I was so shocked by that. It didn't hurt even a little bit, which absolutely floored me, and I loved it. It was amazing.
Wait, that's so cool. Was this your first time bungee jumping then?
Yes. I've gone skydiving and paragliding, but I've never gone bungee jumping, so this was a first.
Might as well start with the biggest one, obviously.
Oh, absolutely.
Wait, no, that's so fun. Before we get too far off, I do want you to take a moment to introduce yourself to our listeners here, but I do want to hear more about Oregon because, yeah.
It was incredible. So I'm Kristy Durso. For anybody who is blind or low vision, listening, watching, I am a white woman with a few pounds to lose, wearing a teal dress, and I use a black wheelchair that currently has pink and purple spoke covers, and I always have the best shoes. So today my shoes are navy blue and white T-strap pumps, patent leather with a beautiful little white bow on the front. So those are my shoe of the day. They're not actually on my feet because I'm at home, but I always have a shoe of the day. So
okay, so I gotta know more about these shoes because I think that was like the first time I met you over a year ago now. You had these amazing shoes on. We were in California at the Travelability Conference there too, and you were hosting, and I came up on stage and I saw your shoes and I was immediately distracted. So tell me, where do you have this collection of shoes? Like, why do you have this huge collection of shoes? I need to hear all about it.
Okay, so I do have a rather huge collection of shoes. Before I lost my ability to walk, I lived with chronic pain. I only had about 4 pairs of shoes. And before, I began my journey into disability. I was a gymnast, and then I was in the military. I had no use for shoes. I didn't understand why people would want to intentionally wear shoes that would cause them additional pain to the pain I was already in. So I didn't really have a shoe collection. And then 6 years ago, I lost my ability to walk. I walked from one side of the house to the other. When I got there, my right side was numb and I just collapsed on the floor. So I became a full-time wheelchair user 6 years ago. And I became really frustrated in that first year with the way conversations happened. They happened all around me. They didn't happen with me. They'd speak to my family. They'd speak to the stranger they thought was with me. They'd speak to my youngest, who at the time was only a little bit taller than me, sitting in the wheelchair, so certainly not an adult. They'd speak to everyone around me, but never to me. And I began to really wonder why. And as I pondered that question, I came to the realization that it kind of happens naturally. Certainly there are some people who are ill-intentioned with it and they don't mean well. But for the most part, I remember growing up and being told, when I saw somebody with a disability and I was with my parents, don't look, don't stare, don't ask questions. And so whether it was intended or not, there became, we all who were given that message, we internalized this fear and shame around disabled people. So it really shouldn't surprise us when we have to be the ones to invite people in, when we have to break through that barrier and help shift the way that we talk about disability. So all of this took a very long time. It didn't happen. It's not like I got a pair of shoes because I had all these thoughts. But one day I was on this Buy Nothing group on Facebook, and somebody was giving away a pair of T-strap, two-tone, off-white and tan heels. And I thought they were the coolest shoes I'd ever seen. So I asked for them, and the woman chose me out of all the people in the Buy Nothing group who asked for them, and even brought them to my house since she had stairs to hers and I wouldn't be able to get to the top stair to get the shoes. I remember putting them on and then having to change clothes because they were too cute for what I was wearing. And then I remember going out and people couldn't help themselves. People began commenting on them, and it broke the ice in a way I'd never expected. And then when I was Ms. Wheelchair Texas, I had sparkly cowboy boots, and I used those as a catalyst to be able to talk about my platform. People would say, "Oh, nice boots," and I'd be like, "Yes, thank you. I got them when I became Ms. Wheelchair Texas." And they'd ask about what that meant, and I'd get to have this conversation with them about accessibility. So it began as kind of this natural thing, just liking a pair of shoes, and became this opportunity to break ground because everybody appreciates them. Young, old, male, female, straight, gay, married, single, it doesn't matter. Everybody can comment on a great pair of shoes. I mean, the greatest fairy tale ever written is about a woman who loses a shoe. Come on, we like shoes. I began wearing fabulous shoes, and it became a way to create that common ground and then talk about how this is something that I really love now, a totally positive thing that came out of me becoming a full-time wheelchair user. And so it does both. It makes people comfortable, and it gives them a reason to look at disability in a positive light.
Kristy, I gotta say, this story took such a great turn because I feel like we've jumped right into the meat and potatoes of what this podcast is all about, like access denied, discrimination, rejection, like wheelchair users, visibly disabled people, just in general, live at some baseline of rejection every day. Just because of exactly what you just said, right? Like people don't know how to engage with us. They don't know how to include us because they're always taught from a young age, oh, don't look. Don't make the person in the wheelchair or the visibly different person feel like an animal. But in ignoring us, there is a level of like, we are not human. Like
we're off limits.
We're off limits. Yes. And I love this idea of claiming shoes or just something. I feel like I do something similar with fashion, and I feel like
absolutely.
love wearing like bright colors or something that like stands out. Last night I went out to a couple events and I had a big fur coat on. Just like anything that just like faux fur. That's important for me to say, actually. Yes. It was not real. Let's be so clear, friends. But not me almost canceling myself on my own podcast. Anyway, no, but like having a statement piece, something that can break the ice, as you said, is so powerful because it kind of like also positions you as just a regular person with regular interests and just allows your personality to come through. I love that so much. And your shoes are truly so freaking cute. I think you had pink ones on this last time I saw you.
Yes, the pink ones with the bows, one in front, one in back. Yes, those are so one of my favorites. Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh. Where's your favorite place to shop for shoes?
The Real Real.
Oh, really?
Oh my gosh, I love it so much. It's because it's, you know, it's like rich people's cast-offs. And they don't wear things out before they get rid of them. So I've got Jimmy Choos, and I even have 2 pairs of Christian Louboutins. I'm never going to pay the full price for these shoes ever in a million years. I just can't, you know, too many years of being practical and being a military spouse and, you know, a single income family to ever feel comfortable spending a fortune. But I can buy them on the Real and they still look brand new. And then if I get tired of them or I don't like them, I'm a wheelchair user. I'm not ruining my shoes. So I can send them back and sell them again. And they usually give you additional store credit on top of you selling them. So it's like this total, it feeds my addiction. So, and then the other place I like to get my shoes is my husband. You know, he teases me a little bit about it because, you know, again, never would have. I had a conversation with my mother-in-law, and I'm saying these names of these brands of shoes, and she just started laughing because she's like, if you had told me 5 years ago that you were going to know the name of these designers and be talking about which one you liked better, I wouldn't have believed it. I would have just laughed in your face because it's so true. Like, I had no care in the world on it. You know, I still struggle with the idea of like doing my hair every day, and my makeup routine takes less than a minute, seriously. But for the shoes, it's become a whole thing. My husband teased me about it at first a little bit just because it was new and good-naturedly, not like in a mean-spirited way. But I had to get a new pacemaker last year. And instead of bringing me flowers, my husband brought me a new pair of shoes. And then I have flowers at home too, but he brought me shoes. And they are one of my, it is. It so is. They are one of the pairs that gets the most compliments out of all the shoes that I have too. So he knows me. He knows me so well.
Oh, wait, I love that so much.
Yes.
We love a supportive partner.
Oh my gosh, yes. Well, and he totally gets it because he kind of rolls his eyes a little bit because, you know, good shoes are expensive when you're wanting something that stands out. I never want to go to something and have somebody wearing the same shoes.
Oh, God,
so,
no.
I know, right? Like, I have to have outstanding shoes. So I can't go to a conference where all the people saw the shoes last time. So I have to have new shoes every single conference. And he's totally supportive. He gets it. And he's like, okay, fine. But now he has started, because I have like 55 pairs now. He's kind of like, when you get new ones, you got to get rid of the old ones. Some of the favorites can stay, but the ones that you really don't wear anymore, it's time to kind of thin out. So.
Well, 55 pairs is an impressive collection, I gotta say.
I know, it's a lot. It's a lot. I feel a little embarrassed for myself, but at the same time, I kind of love it.
No, do not feel embarrassed. I love that actually so much. Again, I think my dress collection it's not quite 55, but it's up there. It's too many for what I could ever wear. That's for sure. But that's okay.
Well, the Real has dresses too, because I had no winter clothes. We just moved from Texas to Colorado, and so I've been in warm weather for 8 years. I had no dresses appropriate for Colorado weather, so I had to go shopping on the Real and bought like a lot of dresses, but one of the loads was like 7 dresses for about $115.
Oh my, you can't do that anywhere these days.
No,
you really
can't. Not even a thrift shop. But
No.
here we are. And these
Wait.
are good quality.
Okay, I need to get, I've never shopped on the Real, but catch me going there right after this. I know how I'm spending my evening.
Excellent choice. Excellent choice. I support it.
You're professionally, like, you work in the travel hospitality space helping
Yes.
with accessibility. So I really want to hear more about that, because that's how we met. That's how we
Yes.
originally connected, like I said, at the Travel Ability Conference last year in San Francisco, which was so fun. And then we got to do it all again this year in Sun River, Oregon, which personally loved Oregon so much. It was only my second time to the state, and I thought it was so gorgeous, so stunning. A great place to be for a work event. Like, what an escape, what an oasis, honestly.
The resort was phenomenal. Completely, you never needed to leave, which as a wheelchair user, I absolutely love. Self-sustaining places where I get to be the same as everybody. Everybody else is getting around the same way, doing the same things, and we're not having to worry about transportation. Although they did also have a wheelchair accessible bus. I'm the official Travel Ability Ambassador. That means that I'm connecting businesses and destinations to Travel Ability, and I also MC the conference, and I am the host of the pitch competition Innovatable. I speak all over the world and help destinations and businesses rethink the way that they think about accessibility. I've coined the phrase, accessibility is exceptional hospitality.
I love that.
And it really is true. When we stop looking at accessibility as a compliance issue and we look at it as a customer service issue, it no longer is about limitations. It becomes about the people that we're seeing. And everybody in the hospitality business should be looking for ways to give their customers the most complete, fulfilling experience possible. And if you think about us only in a compliance manner, you're never going to get there. But if you think of us as individuals wanting to fully experience what it is that you have to offer, well, that changes the game entirely. Then we're looking at what's possible and not what the law says, which is where we really need to be when we talk about accessibility in any capacity.
I mean, to be inaccessible is to be inhospitable, right?
Exactly.
Like, period.
100%.
Like, they go hand in hand.
Your brand slogan is never going to be, we do the bare minimum. You know?
It's true. It's not.
But when you talk about, all of a sudden, when you talk about accessibility, that's what it is. We're ADA compliant, which is, we do the bare minimum.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same thing.
I never thought about it like that. But yeah.
Well, that's what I do. I reframe it. I give people a new way of thinking about it so that it drives them to want to do more. And I can present both the business case and the heart case for it. It obviously is the absolute right thing to do. With families like mine and yours and people who have disability, whether you are born into it or whether you come into it by an accident or a disease, there's grief involved in that. And we have to go, we get so caught up so often in the bouncing from appointment to appointment and doctor to doctor, therapy to therapy, solution to what's going to help us next, that we forget to live. And so to me, travel is so much more, especially for people with disabilities, so much more than that simple getaway. It's not something extra. That's the time that we use to reconnect and rebuild and to rest our souls and to engage in something, stepping outside of all those appointments and everything else. We need that time more than just about anybody else in the world. We've got to value that time for ourselves so that we have the energy to keep fighting, keep pushing, keep looking for a cure if that's what we're after, or solutions if that's to the inaccessibility if that's what we're after. But either way, we're still fighting every single day for either access or for answers. And the travel gives us the opportunity to step outside of that fight for a little bit.
I think a lot of people that are not in the disability community and maybe don't yet have a tie to the disability community, like, assume that life ends with disability because that's the narrative, right? And that I think has been kind of the understanding within hospitality, within these travel markets, is like, oh, well, disabled people wouldn't come here because they don't have a life outside of exactly what you said, fighting for a cure, going to doctor's appointments, managing their day-to-day. The reality is, for most disabled people, we have very full lives outside of our disability.
Oh, absolutely. You know, I think I'm more of an adrenaline junkie now than I was before I became a wheelchair user. You know, I want to do everything. I want to do absolutely everything I can. I want to show what's possible to my kids. I want to show them that we can overcome anything. And when we get to do some of these adrenaline rushing experiences, compete in marathons. I just saw the New York Marathon with some really phenomenal, inspirational people with disabilities. They're not inspirational because they have a disability. They're inspirational for the battle that they had to overcome in order to compete at the marathon. Let me be clear about that. Nobody's an inspiration because they wake up and do normal day-to-day life. That's called living. It's not called inspiration. But
to do a marathon, disabled or not, is inspirational because...
Oh, absolutely.
Oh my gosh. Period. Let's be clear.
Oh, absolutely. Have a racing chair, and it is not easy. So seeing all of that is just absolutely incredible to see. And those are the moments that, you know, those are the moments we get to live for. And you're absolutely right. Life is worth living. You don't have to see to live. You don't have to hear to live. You don't have to walk to live. You can find a way to be fully immersed just as you are. And that looks different for every person. And that's what we fight for, to make sure that everybody has the option to be included in life the way that they are.
I mean, to be disabled is to be human, right? And we all are born into this world with our own unique perspectives, backgrounds, experiences, the way we look, the way we act, our internal, everything. Travel should be prepared, and every industry should be prepared for all of the uniqueness that is encompassed by humanity.
Yes. You know, one thing that surprised me at Travelability this year was when we were on stage and I was moderating, was finding out that even with our travel influencers, our travel content creators, the lack of understanding of the ADA law and the Air Carriers Access Act. I was a little bit surprised by that. It wasn't just you.
Okay,
it wasn't just you, though. No. It was every single person.
That's true.
It wasn't you. You had a couple things you didn't know, but so did every person sitting next to you. And so did other people who weren't on stage with us, came up to me and they were like, "Are you serious? I really didn't need to get my free massage from TSA if I have pre-check." No, you don't need that massage. It's a hand swipe and a chair swipe. The Air Carriers Access Act governs the actual air travel. The ADA governs TSA in the airport and anything happening on the ground. And there's a lot of misunderstanding around that. And I'd love, in our time left, I know we don't have a ton, but I'd love to kind of go over some of these rights that are usually forgotten, if that's all right with you.
No, I think that's a big reason why, as soon as we had this conversation at the conference, I was like, hey, no, we need to have this conversation on a larger scale because I didn't know it. And I've actually already used it. When I went to Denver for another conference, a week and a half later, they tried to give me a pat down. I was like, oh, no. Check the handbook. And they did, and I didn't get a massage that day. So
Woo-hoo!
Thank you for that.
I know, isn't it so nice? Oh,
it was so nice.
Gulliver. Yeah.
Wait, Gulliver. Hi.
Yeah, there's Gulliver.
We love dogs here. We do.
Oh, he's the best. You can't see his little tail, but it's wagging here. He's so funny.
Oh my
He's
gosh.
just sitting here with me.
For everybody that's maybe not watching the video form of Access Denied, cutest. Is he a lab?
He's an
yellow
English
lab?
cream golden retriever. So he's almost all white with super dark eyes and a black nose, and He almost always has a ball in his mouth. If not a ball, then a stuffed animal. And he has an orange and blue ball in his mouth right now that he does not want me to take.
I like that.
But everybody, he makes friends everywhere he goes and helps us increase knowledge about service animals, which is awesome.
That's so
okay.
cool.
Let's go back to what we were talking about with TSA. And
Yes, please share your insights with us all.
So with TSA, I think every wheelchair user should have pre-check. And global entry is great because that helps you get back into the country faster. Although as a wheelchair user, a lot of times you're escorted anyway and you get to skip the line. So it may or may not be useful, but at the bare minimum, you should have pre-check. And the reason for that is instead of getting your quick massage by TSA, you get a hand swipe and a chair swipe. And as long as you don't set off any alarms, they're going to pat down your cushion, they're going to swipe your hands, and away you go on your way. So there's no more, getting your boobs groped or them touching your butt or anything else, as long as you don't set off alarms. Do be aware there are some medications, especially heart medications, that do have a tendency to set off the alarms, and then they will do a pat down and check all of your belongings. I want to make sure that anybody coming behind me is treated correctly and that they follow the rules. Even if I set off the alarm and need my pat down anyway, I want to make sure they're following the procedure and that they know what they're supposed to do so that you don't face getting it done wrong. But yes, it's a hand swipe, chair swipe, and you're good. And a cushion pat down. But
everybody
so
listen to that too. I want to highlight this because it's important that similarly with all advocacy, right? Like when you see injustice, when you see things not going well, it's important to stick up for it. Even if you don't care, even if you don't mind the massage, whatever, it's important to push back so people can learn the correct process. So just wanted to put that out there. Yes.
Oh, absolutely. So the next thing, staying on airports, let's talk about manual wheelchairs and where they go. So if you don't know, this is so critical to know. A manual wheelchair legally, according to the FAA and the Air Carriers Access Act, can be stowed in the cabin. As long as your chair can break down or fold, and that's the wording, you'll see it both ways, but if you dig deep enough, you'll find where it says can break down. So that means wheels come off, fold the back down, and then fit in either the closet or the overhead bin. They must, by law, accommodate that. If your chair doesn't fit there, most rigid frame tie-light chairs can fit in the overhead bin if they're the newer overhead bins where you turn the roller bag sideways. And then here's where we get really nuanced, and it's important to understand this rule. If the aircraft has 100 seats or more, and it does not have a priority wheelchair storage area, then you have the right to request for your chair to be strapped into a row of seats. This actually also includes the removal of passengers. And that may sound kind of harsh, but let's talk this through for a minute. If somebody is bumped from a flight, they may even be able to catch a later flight that day. They may have to wait to the next day, max 2 days. Their life is not ruined. They're still going to be able to go to the bathroom. They're still going to be able to go to a store, go out to eat, whatever else. They're still able to do all of those things. And hopefully they have travel insurance, and the airline has an obligation to compensate them for bumping them from the flight. If my chair is broken or your chair is broken, what happens to you? It's not a one-day affair. It's not a 2-day affair. It's weeks and sometimes 7 months before you are made whole again. So ask. Always ask for your chair to be accommodated in the aircraft if it'll fit. If the airplane has fewer than 100 seats, it is not a guarantee. It's not written that way. They do not have to have it in the cabin. However, if you ask nicely and there are open seats available, then they usually will accommodate. I recommend that you download the Air Carriers Access Act. There's even a quick sheet. I think it's the Disabled Passengers Bill of Rights. and it has it all in a quick information sheet for you that you can save to your phone. I saved the link and made it a button on my home screen, so I just click that button if I have to provide proof. Finally, the last one I want to make sure you all know is if a hotel offers complimentary transportation, not just a hotel, an experience. If anywhere that you are going has complimentary transportation and you are not able to access that transportation due to a disability, you are entitled to complimentary transportation in like kind that works for you. It can be an Uber, it can be a taxi. It's not going to be a private car service. That's not in like kind. So don't ask for that. But for them to provide a wheelchair accessible taxi or a wheelchair accessible Uber, or if you are able to transfer but just not able to do steps, a regular taxi or regular Uber, whatever it is that you're able to use in like kind, they are obligated to provide that for you.
I know when you said that at Travelability, like, I was stunned. I had absolutely no clue. And that one, like, floored me, because the amount of times that I have been on my own, I felt like, for transport has been just, like, astronomical. And if I had known this, it would have saved me a lot of money and a lot of hassle. But I know it now, and that is a really useful tip. I will say, too, about the Bill of Rights that you were talking about. I'll try to find it and link it in the show notes for everybody listening, because I think that's a really useful thing to have. So I will make sure that that is easily accessible to everyone listening here today. But those are really 3 amazing, hard-hitting, like, things to keep in mind. So thank you so much for sharing your wisdom and your guidance on that.
Well, before we go, let me share one more, because this is an important one as well. Airline seating accommodations. So you are entitled to ask for a seating accommodation if you have a disability. And this isn't just for a mobility disability. We use this with our son, who is, again, cognitively and intellectually disabled. It can be useful for somebody blind, low vision. If you have a mobility disability and you can't walk as far, ask for an accommodation closer up. And that seating accommodation is complimentary. You're not paying for it. You're getting the preferred seating and you're not paying for it. And it's for you and one companion. If it's a family with small children and one of the adults is a disabled one, usually they'll go ahead and give it for the whole family, so they're not splitting the family, because the child is not going to be able to be the caregiver for an adult. So we want to keep families together in that situation. So that's another one I really like to make sure people are aware that they're able to ask for.
No, that's an important one. It's one I use frequently, because hopping on one foot to the back of the plane, not really an option.
Not a whole lot of fun.
Kristy, this has been so good. Before we dive into my hard-hitting questions that I ask all of my guests on Access Denied, I do just want to, like, first of all, say thank you, but second of all, just, like, ask, where did your passion for travel come from? Like, and for accessible travel in general?
Well, yeah, I grew up a military child, and then I was in the military, and then I married a military man. So by just the nature of our lives, we travel. You know, we get moved around every 2 years. And then I had a child who was a competitive gymnast, and we traveled for that. And I was a coach, and I traveled for that. So travel has always kind of been something that I've loved. And then in 2012, 2 major things happened. One, we began the process of adopting our youngest. And 2, my husband deployed for a year. So we had a year-long deployment, and it was like clockwork. Every 2 weeks, something new happened. So toward the end of the deployment, I had a pretty serious health scare. So I got my first pacemaker when I was 24 and have had heart issues since then. And they had to do a whole lot of tests, all these things going on while my husband is deployed. I was on the phone with him, and after just such a hard year, we're in the 11th month, and I'm like, I just don't know how I'm going to survive one more month. And he said, Kristy, I'm coming home. I'm coming home early. And we happened to be living in Florida at the time, and I told one of my good friends who worked at Disney that he was coming home, and she helped us plan one of the most amazing reunions ever. We just had the royal treatment from Disney everywhere we went. So I wanted to be able to create that kind of experience for other people. So I began as a travel advisor. And then as Timothy aged, my disability got worse. I started diving in and becoming an ally to people with disabilities as a travel advisor. And the company I was with, while excellent at Disney, that's really all they wanted to be good at. And I wanted to be able to take people on other adventures than just Disney World. So I started my own agency in 2018, lost my ability to walk in 2019, and realized I knew nothing, and that the travel industry basically got everything wrong when it came to disability. So I started my mission to change the way we as an industry look at people with disabilities and the way that we accommodate those with disabilities.
Well, I think the work that you do is not just important, but really cool. And I really appreciate you coming on to Access Denied today and teaching us all. I know everybody listening here learned something new today, because I did.
Oh, I'm so glad. I hope so.
Yes. No, this has been so great. I do have 4 very hard-hitting questions for you before we wrap up for the day. Diving in with my toughest question, always. When you're feeling down, when you're feeling rejected or unmotivated, whatever it may be, you're not having the best day, what is a song that you can put on that will immediately boost your mood?
You're going to hear me roar.
Katy Perry?
Yes. You're not going to expect it from this woman smiling, sitting in a chair. And I'm going to come in. You're going to underestimate me. I guarantee it. But you will hear me roar.
Hell yeah.
I will be the strongest one in the room.
Now that is a badass statement. I love that very much. My next question for you, somewhat similar, but when you're feeling down and out, what is something that you do or something that you reach for, I call that is in your rejection rescue kit, to help lift you back up out of a dark place?
Go serve somebody else. You cannot stay depressed long if you're lifting somebody else out of the pit.
I just got chills. That was so good. I love that. That's so true. I was just at this event recently where somebody was talking about how important it is to be a good friend to yourself, because we are good friends to other people. Usually the advice that we need, we tell other people. And
absolutely.
I feel like that immediately just resonated with that conversation so deeply, because it's the same thing, right? Like if you're doing something to make somebody else feel good, then that's also in turn doing something for you. You're adding joy to the world.
Oh, absolutely, 100%. I also heard somebody say once, depression can't hit a moving target.
Wow.
So if you're getting up, and so you're killing 2 birds with 1 stone. 1, depression, it's hard for depression to settle in when you're up and moving and doing. And 2, serving somebody else is going to do a few things. It's going to put your life in perspective. It's going to make you feel better because you've now given something of yourself to somebody else. Anytime anybody else is grateful, it has a positive impact. Maybe what you decide to do is go and play with puppies at an animal shelter. Well, you can't really even help the fact that releases all those happy chemicals in your brain. So you're going to be in a better mood just by playing with puppies. Or maybe you really love Starbucks and you want to get a Starbucks, so you buy one for the first unhoused person you see on the street, just to give them something warm to drink on a cold day. There are a million ways to do it. Volunteer in a food pantry, volunteer in San Antonio. We had a community garden. Go read to a child at a library. There are a million different things you can do, different ways. There's something for everybody. You don't have to be an extrovert. You can be an introvert and still find a way to give back. Maybe it's restocking or organizing a food pantry and not actually engaging with people, but find a way to serve somebody else. And that is going to make you feel better than just about anything else.
That might be my favorite answer to that question. I think that's a really, really positive thing. And also a really great tool, if you are feeling down, honestly. So thank you for sharing that. Question number 3. What is the last thing that you did scared?
Going to Colombia this summer was pretty scary because I couldn't take Gulliver and I didn't take a companion. It was just me going. And going to a place where I had no idea what the accessibility was going to be. It was a little scary, but it was well worth it. We visited coffee farms. We had a blind guide for bird watching, and it was amazing. We listened to the birds, and we felt the different flowers, and we tasted these different fruits, and used all the other senses as well as looking. We got to see them, and his knowledge of the different, he could identify so many different birds just by their sound. It was insane. Getting to go to the coffee farm and seeing how they grow the beans and the process behind that, and then tasting the coffee. I don't drink plain coffee, but I did there, and it was actually good. Finding out that they also make some of the best chocolate in the world was, the cherry. And then going to Medellin, which I had never been to, and honestly, if I'm truly honest, had never even heard of Medellin. And seeing that they had a completely accessible tour there for wheelchair users that they were eager to show us was so cool. So, I try not to let fear choose what I do. And I'm really glad I didn't allow it in this case, because it was a phenomenal experience.
I'm so glad that you shared that story, because I think so many things that we might be scared to do often can be some of the most rewarding, and it sounds like this trip was incredibly rewarding for you. I mean, honestly, that sensory tour of all of the flowers and the fruits and the birds, I can't even imagine how awesome that must have been. And as a coffee lover myself now, I'm sure that was just phenomenal. So you have inspired me. Maybe I need to book a trip to South America, anywhere.
Well, I say we put together a girls' tour. I say we put together a girls' trip to South America, because the food is exceptional. They've got a lot of these really personal high-end dining experiences, and the accessibility is much better than you would expect. And we got to plant a tree, which I think you would love.
Love.
There's a palm tree that grows on the side of the mountain, and it is the world's tallest palm tree. And it doesn't look like it belongs there. It really doesn't, because it's not near a beach, nothing. And these palm trees are humongous, and we got to plant them, and it was so cool. So yes, we need a girls' trip. So
immediately, let's go to Colombia. Let's do it. I need an adventure. I'm getting tired, so it's time for a reset.
Yes.
I have my final question for you of the day.
Okay.
And that is, we've had a lot of great conversations about shoes, travel, accessibility, hospitality. What is the final thing that you would like to leave the listeners with today?
Fully engage in life, wherever you are, whatever barrier you face, whether it's your finances, whether it's your family situation, whether it's a disability. No matter where you are, you have the option to embrace life. If you can't travel, that's okay. You've got a destination where you are to explore. Every destination in the world has something to offer. So find out what makes your area special, and go out and live life in the biggest way you can, because you only have one. You get one life. When it's over, you do not want to be at the end of it going, I wish I would have lived more.
Kristy, that's the best advice. I love that so much. Yes, everybody go live your life. Go out, do all the things, have a good freaking time, because this is what we get. This is what we've got. Make the most of it. Thank you so much for making the most of it with me today and coming on Access Denied. Yay, this was so fun. I've really enjoyed our conversation. I am glad that you hopefully did too. And
I definitely did. I had a blast. Thank you for having me.
Of course. Where can people continue to follow your journey?
You can find me on Instagram at Kristy Goes. So talking about scary things, I always end up getting intimidated, and I stop posting because I feel like people have got to be tired of seeing this by now. So come give me a follow and encourage me to keep posting content. And then on LinkedIn, I post more thought pieces and more practical tips on accessibility, things that help our destinations and everything, learn more about accessibility there. So those are my two favorite platforms, LinkedIn and Instagram.
Well, both of those will be in the show notes for everybody listening. But Kristy, seriously, thank you so much for coming on today. And I hope you have a fantastic rest of your evening and a good weekend, because it is Friday night. So.
Well, thank you again. I had a blast. It's always a pleasure getting to talk with you, and I'm looking forward to our trip to Colombia.
Me as well. Let's.
And on that note,
Gulliver said it's. Thank you so much. Have a great rest of your night. Bye. That concludes another episode of Access Denied. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. If you like this week's episode, be sure to hit that subscription button and notification bell here on YouTube, or go check us out on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts so you never miss another episode. We have so much exciting content coming out for season 2. You're not going to want to miss it. I'd like to give a huge shout out to JP Warner Sound for dropping this sick beat that you're listening to right now. And finally, if you'd like to rep your love of Access Denied, you now can with our very exciting merch line, featuring a very special Access Denied mug so that you can sip your morning tea while you listen to me spill the accessibility. Anyways, friends, thank you so much once again for tuning in, and I'll see you next time. Bye!